Welcome back, everybody. I'm Michael Foley, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a hip bump sweep from close guard. There's just a couple of foundation movements we got to do for this. The first one looks like this. I'm lying flat on my back, hands nice and tight. I'm going to pick my knees up, and I'm going to use the momentum from my legs swinging forward and coming slightly to the side so I can come up on my elbow right here. So again, it looks like this. Once I'm in this position, I'm going to come all the way up to my hand, put my knee and my foot on the floor at the same time, and I'm gonna base off my left foot to drive my hip into the air. So the whole movement looks like this. With a partner, it looks like this. Got him in close guard. Without any setups or anything like that, it looks like this. If his hands are cleared and out of the way, I'm gonna open up my guard, and I do that swinging motion where I come up to my elbow and then to my hand, my outside foot, my left foot, I post that on the floor. This foot right here, I'm gonna hug his foot. I'm gonna put my foot parallel with his. This hand, I'm gonna reach over the top. And you got a couple options. I can either grab the elbow, pull it tight to my body, or I can wrap my arm around his arm and kind of punch myself in the chest, pinning his arm to my body. Now from here, I wanna concentrate on getting my hips as high into the air as I possibly can, and then driving my knee to the floor in a forward motion this way, sitting him on his hip, and then my outside knee, I drive it to his armpit, and I get the sweep. Okay, let's look at it from the other side. So here again, no obstacles for this. His hands are open. So from here, I open up my guard, I do that sitting movement, come up to my elbow, then my hand. This foot, my left foot posts on the floor, I trap his arm, I get my hip high into the air as I possibly can, block his outside foot, and I concentrate on driving my right knee to the floor, and then I drive my left knee up to his armpit, and I get the sweep. Let's look at how to set this up so I get the reaction out of mat that I need. So we start here in closed guard. He's got good posture right here, and his hands are in place. First thing I want to do is I want to fight my hands to the inside, bring him down. Maybe I put my hand in the collar, and I threaten a cross choke. But my partner starts to pull back because he doesn't want to get cross choke. I'm going to use that as he's pulling back. I'm going to use that to pull myself up to my elbow, open my guard and go up to my hand, and then I'm going to let that choke go. That's when I trap the arm, engage my hips, and complete the sweep. Let's look at that one from another angle. So I start from closed guard, and I attack with the hand on my partner's collar, make it look like I'm going for that choke. They start to pull back. So I'm going to use his energy, pulling back to help me sit up, come all the way up to this position, trap the arm, engage my hips, and complete the sweep. There are two contingencies we've got to talk about. The first one is if my partner bases out with the arm that I'm trying to grab. It looks like this. So I set everything up normal, hand goes in the collar, I threaten the choke, they pull back. When they pull back, I sit up and I go for my hip bump sweep. But they post their hand out here. What I want to do from this position is I want to bump my hip out to the side. This hand catches the wrist. This hand here goes over the elbow, grabs my own wrist. I fall all the way back to the mat. My outside leg is nice and high so they can't step over. I post my right leg, bump my hip out, close my guard with my right foot on top. Now from here, I finish the Kimura. The second contingency is if I sit up to do the hip bump sweep and he tries to tackle me back down to the floor. It looks like this. Hand goes in the collar, they pull back, I sit up, and he's gonna grab my hips and tackle me back to the mat. So what I wanna do instead, my right hand is posted on the floor, my left foot is posted, my hips are free to move. So as I feel him start to tackle me back to the mat, I'm gonna push my left leg straight, get my hips back behind my right hand, I wrap the neck with my left hand, and I grab my wrist with my right hand, pinch in, pull up. I'm gonna shoot my hips forward, close my guard, and finish the guillotine. A hip bump sweep or the sit-up sweep, it's the first sweep we see new people have success with when they first start Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Getting good at that one first should be your first game plan that you approach, and stringing them with the submissions that we tried today, the Kimura and the guillotine, that should be your first attacking system from closed guard. The scissor sweep, what is it? How do you do it, and when should you use it? First thing we gotta talk about is what is the scissor sweep. In the context of sport jiu-jitsu, The scissor sweep is done from the guard position, and for today we're going to use the closed guard. It looks like this. So the closed guard scissor sweep, it's ideal for a guard situation where your opponent is bringing their weight forward, and that's because I'm going to use my knee shield. What my knee shield is when one leg blocks my opponent right here from coming further forward. Here's how you do the sweep itself. You need a couple of grips. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to use a pocket grip on the wrist, so I'm just going to fold his cuff right here, catch it with my 4 fingers, and then my other hand I'm going to grab the same side collar. That's going to give me a lot of pull strength on the right side of his body, bringing him over to this side here. So pocket grip, collar grip, and my elbows are in tight. I'm going to concentrate on keeping my palms turned up like this. So here. Now I'm going to open my guard, but I keep my weight on the backs of my legs on top of Daryl's hips. So from here, my hips are actually off the floor. If I relax my legs and drop, now my weight is off Daryl's hips and he's actually free to move around quite a bit. And I don't want that to happen. So instead, get your 2 grips, chomp down with the backs of your legs, get your hips just a little bit off the floor, and when you open your guard, you keep them there. So if Daryl tries to move around at all, he's got to carry my body weight with him. After I open my guard, what I want to do is I want to pinch in tight with the bottoms of my legs, and I want to turn my hips. I'm trying to take my left hip, and I want to get it underneath my right hip. So I'm going to bite down with my right leg and use my left leg here to help me turn to escape my hip away from my opponent. Now from here, I've still got my grip. This bottom knee, I'm going to bring that up to the middle of my partner's chest, and this is the position I want to start my scissor sweep from. Then I'm going to come up to my elbow, and I want to stretch out, not so much pushing my opponent back as driving myself away from my opponent. So I want to get as long as I can in this direction here. That's going to play a part in the self-defense bit at the end as well. From here, I'm going to give them a little push with my knee, and I'm going to pull right here with the collar. You see how Daryl's starting to stretch out a little bit right here? That's what I'm looking for. Now from here, I'm going to slide this leg down towards the floor, and my top leg, I'm going to bring my knee to my chest, pull him in with me with my grips on the shoulder here, and I'm going to scissor my legs. My right leg is going to kick over the top of my left. My left is going to kick back while hacking on this knee right here. Then I get the sweep. Let's talk about a major sticking point here. A lot of people are doing the scissor sweep after they off-balance their opponent. They don't kick back far enough with their bottom leg. Their opponent falls over, and then they have to come over their knee to get up to the mount position. Instead, what I want you to do is you're going to kick this leg back behind you as far as you can. So now my bottom hip, my left hip, connects to the floor, and then I come up to mount from there. So I'll show you the difference that makes when I have a resisting opponent. So let's say I've set up my scissor sweep here, and I sweep Daryl over, but now I try to come up to my knee. As he's trying to escape, I gave him all kinds of space to be able to re-guard. If I keep my hip tight to the floor by kicking my left leg back, it looks like this. Everything's the same. I go to sweep, but where Daryl would use the space to escape, my hip is on the floor. This leg bites in nice and tight, and there's no space from here. I'm gonna come up to the mount position, and he's not going anywhere. A great time to do the scissor sweep is when my opponent is starting to stand up to pass my guard. If he stands up to pass my guard, here, his body weight's shifting forward a little bit. I want to catch him like midway through the act. So as he stands up, I'm going to open my guard, shift to one side right here. But here's how you know if you've got a good scissor sweep. In this position here, I'm clamping in on this leg, and my top leg, I'm pushing in this direction. So there's a constant pressure on Daryl to rotate in this direction. My top leg pushing him over, my bottom leg pulling him under. So if I can keep him here in this position, if he tries to put his knee back down to the floor, he shouldn't be able to. Let's see how you can apply this move in a self-defense situation. Daryl's playing the attacker in this situation, so I'm on the ground, he's between my legs, and for the demonstration of this, he's trying to put his hands around my neck, or he's trying to punch me in the face. So what I want to do in both scenarios is put that knee shield in place. So if he's got his hands on my neck, from here, I need to create space because he's got gravity helping him out here now. The further he can get over me, the more weight he can apply to this choke. So before he even gets here, I'm gonna clamp down with my legs on his hips, make it harder for him to elevate. And from here, I want to twist and put my knee shield in place. So even if he tries to push forward and put his hands around my neck, as long as I elevate my hips and I push into my opponent, he's gonna have a hard time getting to my neck. So he's attacking my neck. Heavy on the hips. Make the knee shield here. Now from this position, this foot drops to just below the knee. I'm gonna grab the back of this elbow, and I can grab the collar. I can grab him by the head right here if he's not wearing a uniform. And as he's pushing forward, trying to get towards my neck, I scissor sweep, roll all the way over to mount. So if Daryl punches me from that position, it kind of changes what I have to do, but only by a little bit. So same thing as from the choking situation. He's trying to punch me from here, so I want to make space and get the knee shield. As he's drawing back to punch, I want to cover up and create distance right here. And just like if I was a boxer, I'm going to cover up and roll with the punch. So if his punch is coming down on an angle this way, I cover up and I roll this way. If it's the other hand, I cover up and I roll this way. And my job is as he's leaning forward to punch, I want to try to collect that arm, grab his head or his collar, pull this arm underneath, and perform my scissor sweep. I'm going to teach you how to do a flower sweep in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So the flower sweep sets up with a grip right here. I'm going to use a pocket grip because it's my favorite grip, and I want to keep my wrist over the top of his wrist and my elbow tight to my body here like this. The second part is I want to get a grip right here on the knee, the fabric right here by the knee, but slightly below it. And if you find your opponent's gi, it's a little too tight and you can't get the grip right here, use your closed guard, bring them forward a little bit. That'll take the slack out of their gi. Reach down just below the knee and get that grip. Again, it's a pocket grip. So just like this, then they can settle back down. Once I got these two grips, I'm gonna set up the next part. From here, what's gonna happen is this foot, my outside foot, I'm gonna put that on the floor and it's gonna hug his foot. So I just wanna put it to the outside right here. My top leg is gonna hit him right here on the armpit to get him to move to the side. But just as an extra little bit of power and range of movement, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bump my hip to the side here. So I just wanna kick it out to the side just a couple of inches. Now from here, this leg swings up, I hit into the armpit here, and I'm gonna pull up with both my elbows, and I'm gonna keep driving. And instead of getting stuck on my knee, I'm gonna keep that leg straight, roll up on my hip as I let go of the wrist, and I get the mount. So again, a little quicker, pocket grip, wrist on top, elbow tight to my body. I reach for the grip here by the knee. If I can't get it, I'm gonna bring them forward with my legs, reach down, bend down towards it, get a pocket grip just below the knee. Then I block his foot, bump my hip out to the side, then I'm hitting the back of his arm right here with the inside of my leg. Pull up with both elbows, keep the knee right here until you get the mount position. Let's look at it from the other side so you can get a better view of the foot. Pocket grip on the wrist. My wrist is arced over the top of his, my elbow's tight to the body. I reach down, I grab the pants just below the knee, raise him forward with my legs if I can't get the grip. Now this foot here, I just want to put it on the outside of his leg, and I want to bite that in nice and tight. So if I go to sweep, he should not be able to step up with that foot. That's what I want to try to block. So from here, my foot drops, and I'm going to put that parallel with his foot, and I'm going to bite my knee in nice and tight. Now if I try to sweep and he tries to step, it's actually just gonna help me get the sweep right here. So one more time, the whole thing. Pocket grip, my wrist's on top of his, elbows tight. I get the pocket grip here on the knee, pull forward if you can't get the grip you like, then block their foot, create an angle, then I kick high into the back of his arm, and I'm gonna pull both of my elbows up. I don't wanna get stuck on my knee, so I reach with that leg, come over the hip, roll up on my hand and keep the knee, leg hugging tight to his hip, until I get mount position. Okay, let's just change the angle one more time so you can see the angle I'm creating with my hip. Everything's the same, pocket grip on the knee, foot blocks their foot. Now the angle of the hip, it's subtle. I just kick it out a little bit right here. Now from here, kick over, pull up, and come over my hip to get the mount. I see people get stuck in this move on the knee, so after they do the sweep, they get stuck on their knee. So it looks like this. They'll go to do the sweep, they'll block here, and then they'll get stuck on their own knee and they have to come up over this, just like in the pendulum sweep. What I want you to do instead is when you do the sweep, you kick over here, kick this leg straight, so you come over your own hip to get to the mount position. So let's watch it slow. So I've set everything up fine. I block the foot. What I don't want to do is get stuck right here on my own knee and have to come up, because Muhammad can just frame off my hips, shrimp out, boom, and he's got a leg lock right here. So instead, what I want to do is kick over, and when I off balance him here, I push, 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 I kick my bottom leg straight so my hip is on the floor. Then I keep this knee post and I stay nice and tight. I bite his hip right here and come all the way up to mount nice and tight. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to do a basic hook sweep from close guard in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. First, we get in close guard. In this position, Alex is gonna be working on his grip, so he's gonna have a collar grip, and he's probably gonna have a grip, maybe in my pants here by my hip, and keep his elbow in tight to his body. Those are prerequisites for him. He'd want to keep his posture back away from me as much as he can, so I can't put my hand in his collar and perform like a cross choke. But I do want to get my own grips here, so if he's grabbing me with this hand, I also want to grab that hand. I can either grab pocket grip here by the sleeve, or a grip up here on the front of the forearm, or underneath the elbow. Either one's fine. I'm going to stick to the pocket grip because it's the one I prefer. This hand here, I'm going to put it in the collar on the same side, so I've got control of 2 points on the right side of his body. So we're gonna start in this position. Now this sweep, it's not one I force, it's one that he gives me. So from this position here, Alex tries to stand up by stepping up with his outside leg, so the opposite of the hand that I'm grabbing. Then I wanna keep my hips off the floor, open my guard, and I'm gonna turn my base this way, and I bring my knee into his sternum. I wanna stop Alex from being able to come back down into close guard if he wanted to, and I'm gonna hold him back in this position. Now from here, I'm gonna point my foot straight, kick myself in the hip, and I wanna create a hook right here underneath his leg. So I've got this grip right here pulling in, the hook on my foot pulling in, and this hand here. 3 hooks pulling forward. This knee here is pushing him back, so I'm kind of buckling him over this knee right here. Now what I wanna do is I wanna give him a little bit of a push with that, and as he resists, I'm gonna pull him forward, and I wanna get his hips above my hips. Now from here, with my hook, I sweep to mount. Okay, let's look at it from the other side. Alex has got 2 good grips. He's minding his posture, so he's keeping his back straight, his head up. I get 2 grips. I got a pocket grip and I got a collar grip. From here, he starts to stand up, stepping up with his outside foot. Remember, this is a sweep that I'm given. It's not one that I take. Now I open my guard. I keep my hips suspended. I rotate and I bring my knee into his chest. From here, I point my toe on my right foot, I kick myself in the hips, and I create a hook underneath his leg. I'm gonna push, and as he resists, I'm gonna pull him towards me, and I kick him over with the hook, and I come up to mount. Now from here, I don't wanna get caught in quarter guard where Alex closes his legs on my ankle. So before he gets that opportunity, I wanna concentrate on driving my knee down, pointing my toe, kicking the mat. Now from here, I'm gonna collect his knee with my heel, and I end up in mount. Let's look at it from a different angle. So from here, he's got his grips. I got my pocket grip, my collar grip. He goes to stand up with his outside leg, open my guard, get my knee shield. Now from here, my knee stays tight and I pull him over my knee. I point my toe, kick myself in the hip and make that hook. I push into him, he resists, I pull him forward and I want his hips over my hips. I do my hook sweep, drive my knee down, kick out, and I get mount. So here's a bonus tip just in case you get stuck in quarter guard. You gotta keep this in mind. Where his head goes, his body follows. If his whole spine lines up facing in this direction, so his face is pointing in the same direction that his knees are, his legs are gonna be powerful. If his head points in the opposite direction, he's gonna lose the strength in his legs. So that's what I wanna manipulate. So from this position here, my opposite hand goes deep into this collar. I put my knuckles on the floor, and I'm gonna use the blade of my forearm into his head right here, and watch this. I'm gonna push his head this way, and I keep turning his head, Now look what's happening to his legs. And I'm gonna do what I did earlier. Knee to the floor, kick out, and back to mount. I'm gonna show you how to do a pendulum sweep for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So like the other sweeps in our close guard sweeps playlist, this one is best set up from close guard, but the beauty of this one is I don't need a lot of movement from Muhammad to start this. I can actually jumpstart this one myself. It looks like this. From close guard, the first thing I want is a grip on his wrist. A good practice when you're first starting out with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is to get used to starting your close guard with a pocket grip or a pistol grip. You can also do a mid sleeve grip here like this or behind the elbow, but any one of these controlling grips. I love the pocket grip, so that's typically the one I go with. And then this hand here is gonna grab the collar on the same side. You can jumpstart most of your sweeps from here. The one we're doing today is the pendulum sweep. So I just want this, but this hand here is gonna do something different. I'm gonna dive through Mo's knees and I'm gonna grab the inside of his leg. Once I got that, I'm gonna kick this leg up like I'm trying to get it to touch the floor over my shoulder. And then as I do that, I bump my hip out to the side. This creates an angle, opens my hip a little bit. So the inside of my right leg is gonna hit underneath Mo's arm, and that's gonna off balance him and tip him over. So it looks like this. Once I get here, I wanna kick this leg back, and I'm gonna roll up with Mo and get the sweep. Another angle. I get my pocket grip. I dive through his base right here. I turn my palm up, and I'm gonna cup the back of his leg right here with my hand. Then I'm gonna kick open my outside leg first, create an angle with my hip, and then I hit him on the base of his arm right here with the inside of my leg. That off balances him. Then I tip him over, I pull up on this leg, kick my leg back, and roll up to mount. Here's where most people get stuck. So they set it up right, they get their pocket grip, they get underneath the leg. When they go for their sweep, they off balance, but they keep their knee bent right here. 9 times out of 10 when I see a white belt do this, they try to continue to mount anyways. And then the person on bottom is just gonna post their hands on your hips and shrimp out. Boom, and if they understand the game, you're in a perfect position to get leg locked. Here's what I'm gonna do instead. Set it up, dive underneath, but when I kick over with this foot here, after I create the angle and I kick up with my right leg, this leg swings back hard and fast, and I keep my leg straight. So it looks like this. And I come up over my hip and not my knee. Without a partner, here's the movement with my hips. From right here, I open up with this leg, and then I kick this back as I swing this one over. I get this leg behind me so I can roll over my hip and come up from there. So here's a little bonus move you can do off of this. If your opponent tries to base out with this hand, and you're going for the pendulum sweep, you have the opportunity to hit them with an armbar. So I'm gonna use my pocket grip here again, but I keep my elbow in nice and tight to my body. I get this underhook, I go for my sweep, but they try to base out really hard. Now from here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring my elbow back to my center line, swing this leg over their head, clamp down, and it's a free armbar. I'm gonna teach you how to do a double ankle grab sweep from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Okay, the double ankle grab sweep happens from closed guard when my opponent stands up to try to open my guard and pass. It sets up like this. So starting in closed guard, if my opponent's struggling to open my closed guard, which he has to do in order to pass, it's oftentimes that they're gonna wanna stand up. So he's got double lapel grip here. He's gonna stand up to pass. This is when I have my opportunity. Just as he's standing up and about to get his posture, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open my guard, but I keep my hips tight, I keep my knees pinching tight, and I keep my hamstrings, the back of my legs, resting here on his hip. Now from here I'm gonna slide my hips to the mat. That's putting all of his weight on his heels, and that's what I'm looking to do. What makes this move effective is I'm gonna block his ability to step back, because if I just try to do this move, pushing, hacking down on his hips, I'll get his weight to shift to his heels, but he can actually step out of this fairly easily. It looks like this. So he goes to stand up, I open my guard and hack down on his hips, but he can just walk back out of this. And I just did his job for him. So instead, as he stands up, I'm gonna open my guard, keep tension on my legs, weight on his hips, but as I drop my hips, my hands are gonna make 2 hooks behind each ankle, and as I drop here, I'm gonna drop my heels to the floor and kick in this direction and seat him to the mats. I can't just stay there. Once I get his hips to hit the floor, I need to try to complete the sweep to a dominant position. I'm gonna do that using the crumbling hip movement that I covered in my solo drills video. So putting that into the sweep, he stands up, I open my guard, drop my hips, grab the ankles, and sweep. But as he sweeps, at a certain point, when he angles back to fall away, there's no return. As long as I got his ankles, he's not gonna be able to straighten out his hips and stand back up. That's the point where I let go this ankle right here with my left hand, and I'm gonna grab his left wrist right here. Once I got that, my outside foot hits the mat, my inside foot, my right leg in this case, I'm gonna wrap that around his hip. And then as he's rolling backwards, I'm gonna do that crumpling hip movement, my outside knee to his armpit, and I turn him 180 degrees to get mount position. So a little quicker, it looks like this. Okay, there's one contingency you gotta look out for here. If when I sweep my opponent, their hips hit the floor, they can still push me back with either arm. I'm gonna use that to capitalize and try to get a submission. So it looks like this. So the sweep is the same. I open my hips, drop, catch. But when I go to do the sit-up sweep to finish it, he's stiff arming me right here. So what I'm gonna do is engage this leg the same way I did with the sweep, but instead of trying to push his armpit with this outside arm here, I'm gonna kick over the top and collect his head. I'm biting on his arm right here with my elbow, and I'm gonna turn so that not my knee hits the floor, but my outside hip, and I'm gonna turn underneath. If my opponent rolls out of this, I switch my grip, keep my legs in position, and then I got the arm lock. Okay, let's look at that arm lock from the other side. So everything's the same. Stands up, I open my guard, drop, and I get my double ankle grab sweep. I go to grab the far side arm, elevate my hips, but he blocks. What I need to concentrate on is getting this hip as high into his armpit as I can, and then this foot, my outside toe, I'm gonna dig that into the mat. That's gonna help me step over, then I tuck. And if he rolls, I finish the arm lock. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm Michael Foley. I'll see you on the mats.